You're on, sir.
All right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Finance Committee of November 1st, 2021 at 5:01 p.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, you sure can. Counselor Cassett,
Here.
Counselor Villarreal,
Present.
Counselor Lindell,
Here.
Counselor Romero Worth,
I'm here.
Counselor Beta.
Here. Okay, our next item is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from staff?
No changes at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and then I am going to request that we postpone item 6A so that we can continue to gather information regarding this subject. Any other changes regarding the agenda itself? Councilwoman Cassette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just noticed that item O has packet materials and they weren't there up until recently. And so I would like to request to postpone that as I have not had a time to, and I'm not sure anybody else has had a time to review those materials.
Okay, and item O, okay, so a request to postpone item 6A and 6O. Are there any other, Councilwoman Villarreal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was curious, you said 6,
Consent item,
7?
the consent item is 6 and then it's O.
But isn't it 7? Oh, 7, what numbers did you say?
A and O on the consent calendar.
So 7A and 7O.
Yeah, sorry,
And,
my agenda has the consent calendar as item 6, but if it's 7, it's consent A or and O.
So I'm curious for item O, if folks would be willing to at least talk about it, because staff, there was miscommunication and they took a lot of time to get this on the agenda. I mean, in the packet material. So I don't know if there's an ability for at least a discussion.
Councilwoman Cassette, this is, you want it to be postponed. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm happy to discuss it, but I just haven't had a chance to review it. So I prefer not to vote on things that I haven't read.
Right. So would it
Okay.
be better? I guess I would like to know more if other members, if it makes more sense to postpone it to the next finance meeting.
If you look at the calendar, the next finance committee meeting isn't until November 29th. So it wouldn't make the governing body in November, but it would make it in December. Does that matter to you, Councilwoman Villarreal? I know this is a committee you and Rivera are on.
It does matter to us because we are giving a presentation that evening and it should coincide with the extension of the time period. So
Okay, so I see that it's only scheduled for finance and quality of life. And so it wouldn't be on the consent calendar on the 10th if we don't hear it this evening and act on it. But I assume it would still move forward regardless of what we did per our existing rules of order.
right. So are we intending it to be delayed then? So we wait another month?
Well, I don't think it matters. Even if we made that motion, if it goes through quality of life, it still gets on the governing body calendar in November. It just wouldn't be heard or wouldn't be able to be on the consent calendar.
Okay, that's fine. I guess, is that Councilwoman Cassett, is that what you were intending? Or were you wanting it to come back to finance? And
I mean, if there's a time constraint and it can't come back to finance, we can just hear it on discussion. I'm fine with that. And I have an opportunity to actually read the materials and see it at quality of life. So I'm not terribly concerned with that piece. So either or.
Okay, so Councilwoman Cassette, do you still want it postponed? Do you want the approval of the agenda to include the postponement of item O or not at this time?
I'm happy to pull it off consent if we'd like to still discuss it. So I could just pull it off the consent calendar and then we can have a discussion about it then.
Okay, so we're gonna have, I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended, with the amendment being the postponement of item A.
Move to approve.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Counselor Cassett,
yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
and Counselor Beta.
Yes. Okay, so that brings us to approval of the consent agenda. Items to be removed from the consent agenda from the committee. Councilwoman Set,
Shocking. Item O, please.
okay,
Mr. Chair, also F and item O for me as well, to
item
get a
maybe
chance to
F,
talk.
okay,
F is in Frank.
okay, F as in Frank, Councilwoman Lindell,
Item E.
E,
Yeah, E is in Edward.
E as in Edward, okay. Councilwoman Romero Worth, anything in addition you'd like to remove?
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with items E, F, and O being withdrawn?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Counselor Cassett,
yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Beta.
Yes. Okay, so that brings us to approval of the minutes, the first being the Finance Committee meeting minutes of October 4th, 2021. Are there any changes from staff?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Changes from the committee?
Move to approve.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Counselor Cassett,
yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Beta.
Yes. Okay, so those minutes have been approved. Now we have the Finance Committee meeting minutes of October 18th, 2021. Are there any changes from staff?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Changes from the committee? Can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Counselor Cassett,
yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
and Counselor Beta.
Yes. Okay, so now moving on to the items that were removed from consent. The first is item E, which is request the approval of NMDOT funding agreements as per ordinance 2020-33, section 2-4.6.b, and budget amendment resolution funding. And we have one, to ratify the contract amendments, two, ratify additional contract amendments, and three, approve the budget adjustment resolution of $784,438. Councilwoman Lindell.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm trying to get clarity on this. Have we gone from a design cost of 285,000 to over $1 million?
Chairman, Counselor Lindell, on which particular project, or I'm sorry, I guess I'm
That's
filling
o-
in for Ramella.
That's okay. On the underpass.
The let's see, okay, let me take a look at this. I know the underpass project has long been understood to be well over $4 million. That's what DOT gave us for the project a couple years ago. And so design would be expected to be around $400,000, but I would take a look at the
Right, but
memo.
it's gone to over $1 million.
Yes, that was exactly what it looks like. And that probably includes construction oversight as well, but I can't give you any details on that. I'm not sure why Ramella isn't here.
Well, that's okay. I mean,
Let me see if I can.
I mean, I understand, but, and we can either postpone or we can move forward with no recommendation, but I mean, that's an increase of over 3 times what our initial estimate was, and clearly enough, I'm not comfortable with that.
And, you know, it's being managed, I'm sure, excellently by Ramella. She's being really careful and she's very knowledgeable about these projects. So I'm going to try to get her here to answer your questions. I imagine she needs these contracts to be approved. Wonder if I could, is there any chance of, Chairman, that we could get Ramella and come back to this one?
Councilor Lindell, this is also going to Public Works, which you are also a member of. Do you think maybe they could answer our question?
Yeah, that's
What's
fine.
also-
I'm not, that's fine. I can ask these questions at Public Works.
Okay, Councilwoman Villarreal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think those questions, I share the same concerns of Councilor Lindell. I just wanted an explanation of the increased amount. So maybe Ramella can also send us via email the information since I'm not on Public Works.
I can definitely have her do that.
Thank you.
Good suggestion. Okay, Councilwoman Lindell.
Well, I don't have any other questions. I mean, I can make a motion to move it forward without a recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion to move it forward without a recommendation. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, we have a second. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes,
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Beta.
Yes, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, we'll all get the explanation for the increase, correct?
Yes, that was my understanding.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
Okay, so that moves us to item F, which is a request for approval of a professional services contract for workers' comp and general liability, third-party administrative services in the amount of $768,434.23. Canyon Cochran Management Services, Councilwoman Villarreal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering if staff could just explain to us the need for this contract, and because it's a pretty hefty contract amount. And if you could just share why this contract service is needed for our staff.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair, Counselor. The reason why we need this is that it really does 2 main things. It adjudicates all the claims that are general liability claims or workers' compensation claims. So imagine all of the potential injuries that employees, 1,500 employees can actually, cause and, be inflicted by that they're claiming under workers' compensation on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And then it's having the professional skills to navigate all of the federal regulations, HIPAA, as well as working with the service providers to make sure that they're getting the proper care, the right amount is being compensated. And then also, on the other hand, you think about the general liability claims, every trip and fall, every employment practices, every potential claim, tort claim that comes to the city against the city first starts in risk management and goes immediately to a claims adjuster. Either, in few cases, some of them go straight to travelers, probably 90% go to this third-party administrator. Staff does not have the skills, capabilities, research, or just the anywhere near what would be needed to administer both self-insured or plans.
Thank you, Brad. And the time period is
4 years.
4 years. Okay. And is this a typical service that other municipalities contract out for?
Through the chair, for all self-administered municipalities, yes.
Okay. So the amount, let's see. My Prime Gov is super slow. So per year, can you tell us the amount? Because I can't see it on my screen. right
About
now.
125,000 a year.
Okay. Thank you.
Or no, excuse me.
What?
275,000 a year.
375,000.
Yeah, well, it's 728. Hang on here. Let me get my calculator out so at least I'm not so off.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilwoman
2,000
it,
annually.
it looks like it's broken out on pages 6 and 7 by year.
I can't, my Prime Gov is not opening, so
Okay.
I can't see it again. So what, tell me what page again when it pops
On
up?
page 6, it looks like it's $183,676.56 for FY 2021, 2022. And then it goes $189,186.86 in FY 22, 23. Is that right, Brad? Am I reading the right thing?
Unfortunately, my Prime Gov isn't opening either, so I can't
Okay.
verify that. But that
Okay.
sounds about right.
And then so I'll just keep reading then. In FY 23, 24 is $194,862.47. And in FY 24, 25, it's $200,708.34.
Got it. Okay, now I see it. Thank you for reading those out. So the increase then per year, right? Goes from 183, more or less 189, 194, and then to 200. Is that, what is the increase? Is there a reason why the increase? I was thinking it would go down if we had services in place and as they do their work, that it would go down. But can you describe why it would go up incrementally each year?
Well, inflation for the last 18 months has ran over 5%, both producer price and consumer price index. And a lot of vendors are building in price increases into the future, especially for 4-year contracts. A lot of this is based on, number of employees, that are filing workers' comp claims, the amount of claims that are being processed. As we did, the council approved the risk manager position in the FY22 budget. We're hoping to get that position filled here shortly. As we improve our performance, less claims per employee, per 100 employees, things can improve and these rates can go down. Given our recent experience, that's not the case.
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking. Like if we improve our working conditions or trainings, then wouldn't we need this contract less, I guess, is what I.
Well, we would need the contract, but they would service less employees. They're basing it based on the number of employees we have and our recent, 5 years experience, the number of claims that they're processing. That's really how they're kind of working on their base.
Okay, so there is a potential that it wouldn't go up to that level if, say, we improve the number of claims.
Through the chair, I believe that this is a 4-year contract, so these are built in. I could go get back to you and see if there's any escalators or de-escalators, but I believe this is really sort of a flat rate, but I can get back to you with that question.
So maybe the question is like, regardless of claims, they'll still be paid that specific amount? Or is this based on claims and those amounts that you put in the contract are caps? I
I'll
guess
get
I'm
you that
thinking-
information.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking that if we do better and there's less claims, then that would be less that the third party administrator would have to administer, so. But it sounds like that may not be the case.
It's, no, we have some stuff in there that it's based on claims. But one of the vendors in the process, they had a lot of those assumptions. There is some pricing in this. I think this is just the admin fee,
If, Mr. Chair,
but I will get back to you.
Yes, Councilwoman Romero Worth.
Oh,
if you go to page 15, it looks like there is a breakout. Brad, can you get to that?
oh, I haven't been able to open it yet. View
So there's
items.
fixed fees and then there's,
Oh. no,
And then there's
that's-
yeah, it's code. I can't quite determine.
right.
Carolyn, if you could send me the package.
It's coming your way.
That was the main question I had, and we can wait for Brad. I don't know if Councilor Romero Worth had other questions.
Well, Mr. Chair, I guess my question would be, we don't have anything in here telling us how many claims we've had. We have no over the years and the nature of them and
Through the chair, the risk management, at least annually, goes through the city's experience on both general liability and workers' compensation. And in fact, staff will be meeting with AJ Gallagher and Travelers to go through our experience over the next or the past year.
I mean, according to this chart on page 15, it says there's a fixed fee annual amount, pretty much as we outlined, as I read before. But then there's all these other things, per claim billing info. So I don't know if that's added on.
I'm just waiting for the
Yeah,
package to come through.
I'm
Mr.
assuming
Chair.
not, because I don't know. Again, I can't, I don't know how to read this chart.
Did you get it, Brad?
I'm still waiting. Come on, internet.
Oh.
I mean, it doesn't really look like we're going to be paying less if we have less claims. It looks like this, I mean, the amounts I read off earlier are fixed fee annual amount. There's a bill review fee, there's a bill state reporting fee, there's a bill review savings. There's mileage, expenses. Under per claim billing info.
Oh, there we go.
I guess what this is in year one, it says the fixed fee annual amount is $183,676.56. And then everything below in that column is sort of the breakout of how they got to that number. Maybe that's how you read it. Because up top, it says all amounts provided must include all labor, materials, equipment, transportation, configuration, installation, training, and profit to provide the goods and or services described in section 4A, as amended by any current RFP amendments for the period specified.
The file should be here in a second. It's being scanned for security reasons. But that would not be, there is a fixed fee. Both of the contractors in the RFP had a variable rate aspect to it. A claim-based.
And where do we find that?
Hopefully I'll find it here in a second. Technology, it's fun, so I'm sorry about the delay.
Well, it also looks like we've got the RFP in here with the scoring, which is also strange. We don't usually get that as a public document, do we? Until after it's approved.
Councilwoman Lindell.
Thank you, Chair. Does this item have urgency to be passed at this meeting?
Through the chair, yes.
Maybe we should go to something else and come back while Brad's internet figures out what it's doing.
Okay, so would the appropriate motion be to table this and then we come back to it at the end of the?
Can we just move it down the agenda?
Is that a motion?
Sure.
Second.
Okay, I can have a roll call. Please.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yeah,
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor O'Mara Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Beta.
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna move to item O, which is consideration of a resolution updating the terms of resolution number 2021-17 to extend the duration of the Community Health and Safety Task Force to the end of calendar year 2022. Councilwoman Cassette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. had already stated, I just have not had time to review the packet materials here, so do not feel prepared to vote on this item, but I'd be happy to hear from Councilwoman Villarreal, and I see that Councilor Rivera is here about the request for the extension, which would be helpful to hear more about.
Okay, I don't see Councilor Rivera on his screen. Councilwoman Villarreal, do you want to
Sure.
start?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I apologize. This was late getting into the packet material. I think staff was out of town and we actually didn't know they were out of town. So we thought this was passing through and was going to make it into the packet material. I understand if you haven't looked at it and you'd want to move it on without a recommendation so that you can review. But I did want to just take the moment to just let you know that we are requesting more time because we'll be contracting a public engagement process that requires more time to kind of flesh out and see what that's, who's going to do that work for us. And so that's why we want to extend it. I think just in general, our extenuating circumstances, having a task force that's trying to meet monthly on Zoom has been very challenging. I think it's just the work at hand is important. It's hard. And so we've had some transitions for our staff or the members on the task force. We have had some members shift off and we have some new members shift on. And then we did have a facilitator that had a 6-month contract with us and completed it and wasn't able to extend it due to her other job. So we did have to find another facilitator who's great. And we did be able to, jump on without skipping a beat, but we did miss probably like a month to be able to get that on track. So I feel like all those circumstances and the fact that we're not getting any support from staff. Jennifer Fabian was our staff person. And so we don't really have anybody to kind of guide these through, including getting things in the packet material in a timely manner. So I think all of those circumstances and really excited to present to you all. And that was kind of the urgency. Like we want to be able to present and tell you what we've been up to and then be able to have that time, the same time, be able to extend the contract. Sorry, not extend contract, but extend the time period that the task force is working. So I just wanted to express that. I don't know if Councilor Rivera has anything else to add. It's hard work. It's a lot of research that we don't have anybody to help us with. So I think that's the challenge is that Chris and I have taken on kind of an administrative role in many instances. So that's why we want to be able to have time to do this thoroughly.
Councilor Rivera.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Councilwoman Villarreal said it as best as possible. The only thing I'll add is that, well, I'll add to what she said and just say that, yeah, we are taking more of a administrative role and trying to probably do more of what staff should be doing. I think other committees, other task forces have city staff working for them. I think we're trying to do a lot more of that ourselves. And the other thing is that many of our committee members who are volunteers are full-time employees or are doing other things. A lot of it is with the legislature. So they're during the past year when we were trying to have meetings, we're doing a lot of work with the legislature with trying to pass other bills or at least stay in contact with other bills. And it really took a lot out of our volunteers for a little while there. But even with that being said, a lot of work has been done and we look forward to the presentation that's going to be made. All we're asking for in moving forward is that we extend the end of our term through calendar year 22. And that's primarily to do community engagement, but it may involve some additional work with putting that information together, presenting it, and then making recommendations to the governing body. So yeah, that's what we're looking for in the FIR. I think most of the money's identified with the exception of $20,000, which I spoke to the city manager today, and she said that, you know, she'd be willing to find that before the end of our facilitator's contract, which would be, I believe, sometime in March. So she would be able to identify that additional $20,000 prior to that point.
Anything else, Councilwoman Cassette?
No, that's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much, Councilor Rivera. My question was on the FIR, because I was able to view that part real fast. So thank you for addressing that. That's all.
Councilwoman Romero Worth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you've alluded to a presentation. Can you tell me when, where, how, what's going to be happening?
We've asked for it. I'm sorry, is that for me?
Whoever, I don't know.
Okay.
Whoever's on the hot seat, fine.
We've asked for it to be at the next council meeting, and that's when we anticipate that it's going to be. I haven't heard from the city clerk yet, but that's when we've asked for it to be on. I assume that's when it's going to be on. So it'll be a presentation that myself, Councilwoman Villarreal, several members of the task force itself, and others, the facilitator, may be involved in. So it's a pretty extensive presentation about what we've done and where we're going. And that's just to help you understand really why we're asking for an additional $20,000.
Yeah, I wish that presentation had come first and not ask us to extend and then tell us what's happening. And I'm sorry to be grumpy about this. I know you guys are working hard. I know you've had setbacks. I hear rumor of that, actually. And I know, I mean, I'm missing Jennifer too. She staffs the Quality of Life Committee, and I understand the setback that has been. So I am sympathetic, but I'm also grumpy, I guess, because the nature of this task force, having closed meetings. And as you know, I didn't like how that happened. And I thought I actually offered a way for that to happen in a different way. And so it's a little tough to ask to extend when I have no idea what you guys have been doing. And so I guess if we're going to do this, I'm wondering how you feel about putting in the resolution a requirement that you come in the next year at some regular interval. I don't know what it is. And, you know, whether it's monthly or every other month or I don't know, but it's really, really hard to be in the dark and to be saying, yeah, sure, take another year to meet and not know what's happening.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I completely get it. We feel the same way on the task force. We've had several setbacks with members, and then with losing Miss Fabian, which was, I mean, you know how valuable she was to quality of life. She was probably more so valuable to our committee. So losing her hurt a lot, and getting a new facilitator on and bringing her up to speed, and she's great, and I think we'll be fine moving forward. So if that's part of what you want to do in passing this resolution, I'm fine with that. I don't know how Councilwoman Villarreal feels, but you know, if you want specific dates of when presentations will be made or whatever, I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, whatever that.
that,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead and
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Just, I did want to say that we were trying to do this parallel so that the extension of the resolution would also coincide with the presentation. And that is, I mean, we're planning on it as a task force. Let's hope that they don't change their mind, but we already have a draft of the presentation that will happen next week. So I hear you about seeing something before making a decision. But we were kind of planning that would be the case. You'd hear the presentation and then we'd actually have the item for the resolution to be extended in that same meeting. If you don't think that makes sense, we have very limited time to be able to extend the resolution because it ends in December. But that's fine with me. I think in terms of like regular presentations, that makes sense, probably not monthly because we do monthly work and then we meet in working groups pretty regularly as well. So that probably wouldn't make sense. I think the only reason why you haven't seen a presentation is because we lost our facilitator and she had to move on to her real job. And so I think that was hard for us. Like, wait, don't leave. Can we do this first? And it didn't happen. But we're excited to tell you more about what we're up to and feel like we've worked so hard that it's painful not to have this move forward. I'm just like, we've worked so hard to like keep this going and with all the fits and starts. So I think, we can talk about what makes sense. If it's like quarterly, maybe, I don't know. Quarterly, I don't know. Maybe we could talk about that. I just wanted you all to know that this was important to us so that it would be timely so that you can hear the presentation next week and also make a decision on the extension of the resolution. So.
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with moving this forward without a recommendation for a variety of reasons. One, we didn't get the packet materials till late. Two, we have I don't even know what your working groups are, so it's just, and what your work plan is and, just even broad brush stuff. And again, I know you've had setbacks and I don't want to, be too harsh, but at the same time, I just not happy about this. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Cassette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of following up on that conversation and so if we were to grant the extension at the December meeting, we still have not gotten to a place where, because right now the work goes through the end of December, correct? As it stands at this moment. So we could ostensibly postpone this, have a presentation in November, use the committee process to think about any of these questions or any, concerns that the governing body has, and then pass it at December without there being a lapse in timeline. Is that accurate? And is that something that you would be able to?
In theory, yes. I think it was more because we don't have staff to help us get this through. But I think if we have something in place, then we can extend it into the, other committees into December. It's just that, I feel like both meetings in November and December were packed, and that was the conundrum. That was like what we were trying to grapple with. Like, do we do this both so that that moves forward and then we can be done in November and continue our work, or wait till December and just have it kind of up in the air still, even though we've already given our presentation in November? I guess that's how I'm feeling. I'm not sure how Councilor Rivera feels.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And actually it was my idea to try to get them done both in November. We had the discussion of doing the presentation in November and then December. But if there's any questions, any concerns that happen in December, any setbacks in December, then we're in a situation where, we're leading into the end of contracts. We're going into the new year, new administrations, new council potentially, so or new council members. So really trying to get it all done at the same time, and that was really my biggest concern moving forward, and that's why I recommended Councilor Villarreal and the others that we do it all together.
Yeah, I definitely understand the want for like a cushion just in case that it got pushed up. I think that I kind of view it, well, I mean, in hindsight is 2020, which is such a weird saying now. But looking at this conversation now, I actually see some logic in like, here's a presentation. There's some time for us to chew on it. There's a committee process for us to chew on it, work on any questions and conundrums through the committee process. So it's ready for being passed on consent in December without much of a conversation. Because you're right, we do have some pretty packed council meetings coming up in November and December. So, but I completely understand the desire for that cushion coming up. So, you know, I'm open to either moving forward without recommendation or to looking at potentially amending that schedule if we did want it back at finance. You know, we'll all have the opportunity at governing body if after the presentation we have a concern about the additional 20,000 from the financial perspective. And then of course we can have a larger conversation at quality of life. But I do, you know, having the context for the work and what is happening with the work would be helpful. I am in, you know, there's not a world where I see myself not wanting this task force to be extended and to be able to continue moving forward. It's just a matter of being able to really have those conversations and vet out the process is where I would have that concern, because I know that, as you said, it's hard work. And then of course the loss of Jennifer has hit us all. And so you guys are really taking on a lot. And I definitely want to make sure that we are both supporting as well as getting the information to make those decisions on how we move forward. So I will hear what the rest of the committee thinks about next steps. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to comment. I want to thank both Councilwoman Villarreal and Councilor Rivera. I mean, this is a complicated issue. Councilor Rivera, you and I were in a community meeting last week, and there's two sides to the whole public safety coin here. And I don't know how we're going to come to, you know, a resolution on this matter. And quite frankly, I think it's going to differ from community to community and district to district. And so I commend you for being willing to even continue to take on this work for another year. So you know, for whatever it's worth, I thank you and support this work continuing, because I know in District 3 we need to have this discussion. I mean, you've all seen and heard the violence that we've had with the young people and the drive-by shootings and there's two, you know, there's one side saying get these kids and throw them all in jail and take these guns away from them, and then there's another side that's like, wait a minute, why are these kids shooting in the first place, and what's so you have your work cut out for you, and I thank you both for being willing to take that on. And I also think it's a good composition with the two perspectives you both bring. Your Councilor Rivera, your background in public safety and working with police and fire, and Councilwoman Villarreal, your community work. I think this could be something positive if we just continue to be patient and grant you the time that you need. Councilwoman Romero Worth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for those comments, because I know this is hard work, and I want to echo, you know, the thanks to the two of you for being willing to do this. I worry again, especially what the chair just said about how there being, you know, kind of two sides to how we do this and how do we go forward. And if we're not, I'm delighted to hear there's going to be some public engagement, because if we don't also have these conversations with the community, we're never going to have the buy-in that we need in order to move forward. So we've got to figure out how to, you know, get this dialogue out into the community and less secrecy, and or we're not going to get the consensus that we need to move forward. So again, you know, while I'm grumpy about this, I just want to echo the chairman's thanks to the two of you and the acknowledgement that I know it's hard. And, but I don't like where we are. So, and that's kind of separate from, the work that you've put on and into this and the setbacks you've had. So just wanted to say that.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee? Councilwoman Villarreal.
Oh, I just wanted to respond to that. I think I'd like us to not use the word secrecy because that's not what our work is about. I think it's really, we lost members because they didn't feel safe at the beginning, at the onset of this. So I feel like now, because we have, meetings that are closed, it's helped to like move things forward. It's just that there's things that we didn't anticipate, changes in staff, changes in facilitation. And so I guess I just don't want to use that word secrecy because that's not what we've been doing. It's just hard work and it's exhausting, to be honest with you. And then our committee members, they're amazing and they're volunteer and they have other jobs and they're super busy too. So it's always like trying to juggle, like how do we meet? What's the best way? When is everyone available? It's a lot. So, yeah, I'm open to moving this along without a recommendation, if that's what my colleagues feel makes sense right now. Or if there was another suggestion.
Okay, so does someone want to make a motion?
I can make a motion if someone doesn't have another.
Okay, Councilwoman Villarreal.
I move to move this along without a recommendation. Is that the right way to say it?
Okay, and I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? You can have a roll call, please.
Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Counselor O'Mara Worth,
Yes.
and of course, Counselor Beta.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Councilor Rivera, for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so that brings us back to the item F, which was a request for approval of a professional service contract for workers' comp and general liability staff.
Thank you, Chair. For the, I have the document now open. And yes, the first part is, this is a approval of the fixed fee for the contract. The per claim billing is paid for monthly out of the either the general liability checking account or the workers' compensation checking account on a per claim basis. Just so that you get an idea, in the last 3 weeks, the city's had 9, 11, and 9 claims filed for just general liability. And through the chair, I'd be happy to schedule a presentation by both CCMSI or Travelers or AJ Gallagher to go through and review the city's experience in both general liability and workers' compensation.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilwoman Romero Worth.
Thank you. And I would like to see those presentations. I think we have had them in the past, if I recall right. I remember certainly the general liability conversation. I don't know whether I've ever, if I remember seeing a workers' comp specifically. So I would be interested in that, Mr. Chair, at the appropriate time when you have putting that in the queue for the committee to look at.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, other questions from the committee? Councilwoman Villarreal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess when I see these amounts, the fixed amounts, it's really not what we're budgeting. It's actually beyond that because of the per claim billings and other fees that are broken down into this chart. And there's some acronyms I don't get, like split determination, what the WC and GL stand for. And so I guess I maybe you could explain what that means, but then also like, what is the actual cost of this broken down into all these, not just the fixed fees, but the other potential costs that may occur in each of these years? And shouldn't that be the amount that you're requesting?
Through the chair, Counselor. So the WC is workers' comp. GL is general liability. When we budget, we're budgeting for the administrative fee, except not including the per claim billing information. Where you see the true cost of either program is in the claims paid. And again, that's where you'd be finding in the other parts, property damage, vehicle damage. Those are the line items, workers' compensation claims paid. When we pay the medical bills of those claims, that's where the real expense is. And we budget for those both in the general liability fund and the workers' compensation fund. And they are actually funds. We have reserves because we're right now in the middle of the audit. We have the actuarial report that tells us at June 30th how much we expect our general liability claims outstanding are, what our workers' compensation claims outstanding are. So those are in the millions of dollars.
Sorry, I was muted. That makes sense to me. I guess I was just trying to figure out, like, I guess we won't know mileage per hourly rate.
Until the claim is settled.
Bill fees and all that. So,
And through the chair, Counselor, this is all the paperwork of all the claims, from back injuries to just imagine whatever, a city employee, at one of the more vigorous jobs, water or the utilities or environmental services, where they would get hurt. Those claims, and they can last years, and they could be very large. Same with general liability. Within general liability, we have a cap, our self-insurance retention limit of 200,000, where the city paid, because we are sort of self-insured, the city pays the first 200,000 on the claim, and it goes above that, it goes to the insurance company. In workers' compensation, the SIR is 600,000. The city pays the first 600,000, and above that, it goes to an insurance company. So this is just, again, what these folks do is they go out on general liability, investigate the claim, get all the data. Same thing with workers' compensation. They make sure that it's, a legitimate claim, that it happened on the job, that these are the best medical processes that are going forward. Working with the employee, their physician, possibly the lawyers, and again, it could last years, or it could last a month or two.
right. Yeah, I understand that it's sometimes not hard to gauge that amount. I guess what would be helpful is the kind of trends we're seeing of claims, so that we can kind of see, what I know it's going to be depending on the claim and how long it will take, but You all have some kind of historical record of like what we've been seeing the last few years as a trend for claims like this?
Through the chair, we keep track of all the claims through the years. We've been with CCMSI since at least 10 years.
Okay.
So we can tell you how many trip and falls, how many, automobile accidents, how many, weed whacker, rocks flying, broken windows. We keep all that data.
Yeah, I think what would be helpful, not the exact types of claims per se, but the number and then what that translates into in terms of what we've had to pay out, or what were the fees and the, what is it called, billing, per claim billings, that I guess that historical information about since we've been with this company for so long, to see what we've paid them, not just the fixed fee, but just in general, their support for those claims through the last, I don't know, at least 5 years, because they've been with us for 10. That would be helpful for me just to kind of see where we're at, and probably would be helpful for, as we move forward, to try to hire somebody to what did you say that position was?
This is the risk manager.
Right.
And their position is to stop the trip and falls, stop the and by bringing up awareness about safety and driving, and look before you do this, or we want to reduce the number of claims, not really so much. That's where he would save, they would save the big money,
Exactly.
is reducing claims.
Yeah, I think that will save us money all around. So whatever data you can send us, Brad, would be helpful just to
Okay.
add to this. And let's see, this is tracking, this goes to Public Works governing body. If you could send us, I don't know if everyone wants that. I would like to just see kind of where we're at with that information with this company. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve with the additional information being sent to the committee members.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second,
Second, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Counselor Cassett,
yes.
Counselor Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes,
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Counselor Beta.
Yes. Okay, so that concludes the items that were on our consent agenda that were pulled. Matters from staff.
No matters from staff at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Matters from the committee. Okay, matters from the chair. The only thing I have is our next meeting is Monday, November 29th at 2021. With that, we are adjourned. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
thank you, Chair.